welcome back to day 18 of 31 monsters in 31 days. Let's find out who we're making today. We are making an evil scarecrow. All right, let's get started.
While we're sketching out the plan and making the basic blob shape that all the monsters in this series are built off of, I'm going to give you a bit of a history of scarecrows and the reason I included them on my monster list. If you want to see slower, step-by-step instructions on how to make this basic blob form, check out this video. For details on how I do my paper mache, check out this video. Both are linked in the description. So I was kind of surprised when I started researching scarecrows just how long these things have existed. I thought they were more of a recent invention, but ancient Egyptians and Greeks had their own scarecrows of sorts. In Egypt, they would hang tunics on reeds to scare quail away from their crops. In ancient Greece, they would create wooden figures representing the fertility god Priapus and place them in their fields. Birds tended to avoid the areas where Priapus resided, so Roman farmers soon adopted the practice. As early as the 8th century, Japanese farmers would make figures of Kubiko, Shinto god of agriculture, to keep sparrows out of their rice crops. The figure was dressed in old dirty rags and bells and would be burned at the end of the farming season. The smoke and flames would keep animals away from the rice. Over time, the scarecrow transitioned from a purely functional agricultural tool to a symbol of autumn, decay, and transformation, making it the perfect fit for Halloween. Scarecrows, being slightly creepy, quasi-human figures, fulfill the dual role of both invoking references to autumn and the harvest, and the eerie and uncanny. In haunted houses or as Halloween yard decor, you never can be sure if a watching scarecrow will continue to watch silently or jump into action. So for its centuries of global cultural significance, its connection to agricultural folklore and superstitions, and its creepy and uncanny appearance, I had to include the scarecrow on my monster list. So I'm gonna start with the scarecrow's hat. I cut these 3 pieces out of a cereal box. I'm gonna start by gluing the brim of the hat together here. I'm sticking some tape on the join just to hold it in place while the glue cools. Next, we're going to make the crown of the hat. We'll glue that together and tape it. And then I'm gluing it to the brim. If you're trying this at home, be super careful not to burn yourself here. The top of the hat is this shallow cone shape. I'm sticking that on top of the crown, and then covering that whole assembly with some paper mache. Got another strip of cereal box here. I'm cutting out a bunch of these trapezoid shapes. I'm gluing these around the neck of the blob. This is going to be this little flare out where the scarecrow's head ends. I'm making his eyes with a long strip of corrugated cardboard. I just sketched out the shape I wanted onto the scarecrow's face. Then I'm tracing around it with hot glue and cardboard. And of course, I'll cover all those new additions with a couple coats of paper mache. Before I let this dry, I decided I want to make a little ridge around the neck here, so I've prepped some strips of paper towel. I'm going to put a little glue on them, twist them up, then wrap them around the neck here. I'll cover this in paper mache, and this will act as a little ridge that the rope that holds his head on will sit under later. I'm using some thicker paper from one of my kids' school scrapbooks to make him some overalls. I've just covered the paper in glue, folded it into a shape that looks like a bib, and then I'm wrapping it onto his blob body. I'll extend the overalls around the back with another bit of folded paper, then blend that in with some brown paper mache. I'll fold up some more paper to make him some little straps in the front, and of course in the back. And then I'll also make him a little pocket. So I want it to look like his head is made out of a burlap sack. I don't have any burlap, but I do have this crusty cheesecloth that I used to drain the paper pulp for my toad project. So I'm draping that over my scarecrow's head, slicing a big old smile in there, and then using a brush to slop some paper mache glue on. I'm working the fabric down around the eyes and trying to wrangle all the folds in a manner that looks nice. Once I've got everything fully saturated with glue, I'm tying a bit of cord underneath that paper towel ridge we made earlier. I wanted to beef up his mouth a little bit here, so I'm cutting the rolled up edge of this last bit of crusty cheesecloth and I'm gluing that around his mouth. We're letting that dry, and then I'm going to use these tiny scissors to trim off the extra cheesecloth that's hanging over that flare. His hat is dry now too, but it's looking a little too perfect for our old scarecrow here, so I'm going to cut a little rip into it. I'm also going to use the blades of my scissors to put in some creases and folds. Much better. Now we're base coating everything in this DIY black primer. The recipe for this is in this video, which is also a great resource for the dry brush paint technique, which is how we're going to paint this guy. I'll leave a link to the dry brushing video in the video description. I'm going to dry brush his burlap sack head in a lovely shade of burlap sack brown. It took a couple passes to build up the color, but I love how this brings out all the cheesecloth texture. His hat is getting dry brushed all over with a straw brown color. And one more shade of brown goes all over his little shirt that's underneath his overalls. I'm dry brushing the overalls with this dark denim color. I love how fast and effective this paint technique is. When the paint is dry, I want to make it look like he has some loose straw poking out from under his hat. So I cut a bunch of cardboard strips out of an unmarked shoebox, and I'm twisting the strips up a little bit before gluing them under the hat. Once I've worked a shaggy straw wig all the way around, I'm hot gluing the hat onto his head. I've stuck a few loose strands of cardboard straw popping out of his burlap sack head too. Finally, I thought he would look really creepy if his mouth was stitched up, so I used this carpet needle to stab through the cheesecloth lips and pull through some waxed cotton cord. Perfectly creepy! And as always, I glued a black felt to the bottom of him to finish him up. And here's our finished scarecrow. If you think I did a good job, please give this video a thumbs up. If you think I did a bad job, let me know why in the comments. Thanks so much for watching to the end. If you could hit the like button or even comment a random emoji, I'd so appreciate it. Since I'm a smaller channel, anytime you interact, it really helps me out because it tells YouTube this video is worth watching. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss tomorrow's monster build. You can see it ad-free on my Patreon. And again, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow.